October meeting of the City of Auburn Planning Commission to order. Let's call the roll, please.
Dana Kemp,
Here.
Arnett Reese, Wendy Birmingham,
Here.
David Wisdom,
Here.
Joseph Astrup,
Here.
Bill Chancellor,
Here.
Jennifer Stevens,
Here.
Oscar Mosley,
Here.
Walker Davis.
Here.
Thank you. For those of you who have not attended a meeting of the Planning Commission, welcome. I'll give a quick overview of how our meetings run. First, the commission is presented with an agenda from the City Planning Department. A representative for each agenda item will have an opportunity to make comments and answer questions from the commission. Some items on our agenda require a public hearing. During the public hearing, anyone is welcome to speak for up to 5 minutes with respect to the agenda item. We serve on behalf of the citizens of Auburn and welcome your comments. If you choose to participate in the public hearing, please keep all comments germane to the agenda item at hand, and please remember to sign in on the table next to the podium. The Planning Commission will deliberate on each agenda item based on local laws, the City of Auburn Comprehensive Plan 2030, and for the good of the community. I will now open the floor for citizens' communications. If anyone would like to share comments on anything not before us on the agenda this evening, you may do so now. Seeing none, we will now hear old business. Seeing no old business, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We got 2 items, 2 annexations on the consent agenda.
I got 2 things. So just on the minutes, there's a minor correction that I wanted to bring y'all's attention to that staff would make kind of after the meeting. On item 20, it's the Judd Avenue case. It mentions that Pastor Grigg spoke in opposition. It should be that Pastor Grigg spoke in favor of the project. So that was one, and then the second was I guess this affects the 2 last things on the agenda. Second to last things on the agenda, the 2 turn lane waiver requests associated with Mims Trail. The applicant is under the weather and out of town and requested to postpone to the next meeting because they'd like to be here for it. So just with that, those are the 2 things that I wanted to bring to y'all's attention. So the adjustment to the minutes, and then the adjustment to the agenda to remove the final 2 items on the turn lane waiver request for Mims Trail.
Will that require a vote at the end to postpone?
To postpone?
Or we just take them off?
Yeah, I guess they withdrew it, and so I guess I don't think it needs a vote since they voluntarily withdrew it. And then on the other one, it'll just need to be the motion that y'all accept the minutes just with the staff changes, like the staff mentioned changes.
Okay.
Do you hear a motion on the minutes?
Move to accept the minutes, September 9th.
With
Second.
With staff changes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Motion's been made and properly seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against. Motion passes. All right. Now we've got the consent agenda with the 2 annexations. Do I hear a motion on the consent agenda?
Move to approve. Second.
Motion's been made and properly seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Against. Motion passes. All right, we'll move on to new business. The next is a preliminary plat from Rockhouse Farms.
Good afternoon. First item of new business tonight is a request for revised preliminary plat for a 21-lot single-family subdivision. The property is located off of Bridlewood Drive in the rural zoning district. They are also requesting 1 waiver. I know the staff report says that there are 2 waiver requests. However, the easement providing access to the greenway is no longer needed, or the waiver is no longer needed, because the applicant is comfortable with the easement being there if it is restricted to just the residents of the subdivision. And staff, that's what it's intended for, so staff has no issue with that, and the applicant doesn't either. The newest layout of the subdivision is 21 lots. The plat was before you over the summer in June, I believe, and it was 16 lots. The only difference this time, besides the additional lots, is the new internal street, public street, that most of the lots will have road frontage on. This lot here remains in unincorporated Lee County, so it is not in the city limits, and it does have access to Bridlewood Drive, and it meets the flag lot definition. The greenway is on lots 1, 12, and 11, and that will be placed in an easement, and then the greenway, access to the greenway will be from the cul-de-sac, probably. That will be determined with the applicant and staff. We do recommend approval of the subdivision plat. There is a condition of approval from Water Resource Management. There are water quality and fire protection concerns, and expansion of the system to serve the development shall include connecting to the existing water main along Shelton Mill. And that is part of a condition of approval. There are several comments. One to note is engineering comment number 3. That should only say Lot 2. Lot 2 is the larger lot that has road frontage on Bridlewood. That's where the existing home that was recently constructed is located. So that should be the only lot that has access, vehicular access to Bridlewood Drive. Let's see if I forgot anything.
What about the second waiver?
The second waiver, yes. So there is a waiver to not have to provide a stub-out street to the east. This is vacant property, undeveloped property to the east. And one of the requirements of the subdivision regulations is if there is undeveloped property adjacent to your proposed development, there should be a stub-out connection to that undeveloped area. They are requesting a waiver to not provide that. However, the current length of the internal cul-de-sac street exceeds what's also allowed. So having that stub-out street would help that requirement not to be non-compliant. So the stub-out street would actually help. And we do recommend that that waiver be denied. Staff does.
Okay.
And I believe we did receive several inquiries about the project. I don't think we received any that were in opposition. They were just mostly informative. The applicant is here, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So my question was regarding the access to Bridlewood Drive. That's off of Shelton Mill Road, correct?
Bridlewood Drive?
Yeah.
It is, correct.
Okay, and that is marked a private drive? And is the intent then to leave it private after?
No. So right now, it is a private access drive. This development requires Bridlewood Drive to be improved and brought up to city standards, and it will
Okay.
become a city street.
Okay, so it will become a city street. Okay,
Correct.
very good.
This item does require a public hearing. I'll open the public hearing now.
You can do it after.
You can do that after.
Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Dr. Laurel Gardner. I'm a 1986 graduate of the College of Veterinary Medicine, a 44-year resident of the city of Auburn and Lee County. I am married to a family with a very long and storied history, and our property is that property to the east of this subdivision. I would like to point out that if you add a stub road to the end of the cul-de-sac, it's going to lengthen a road that is already considered too long. So I would like to point that out. My father's great-grandfather moved here in 1917 to help develop the Department of Botany, Plant Physiology, and Bacteriology at what was then API. He had a small dairy in town on the property that currently surrounds Gardner Drive, which some of you might be familiar with. He had to move that property to Shelton Road and purchase 200 acres there. His son expanded the dairy to an award-winning Jersey cow farm and Duroc hog farm. We have records of sales all over the southeast of those cattle and hogs. His son, Harmon Austin Gardner Jr., took over the farm and extended it even further. It was a dairy farm, it was a poultry farm, it was an Angus beef farm. In 1972, Gardner Stables, which some of you may be familiar with, was opened. When my father-in-law passed away, the land passed in a limited liability company to his 5 children and has been managed by them for the last 4 or 5 years. My son Stan is here. You'll hear from him in just a minute. He lives on the property along with his cousin David. I'm not going through this history trying to bore you all. I know family history is only important to the family members. The reason why I'm going through it is because I want you to understand that this land is not a commodity to us. We do not want to sell it. We do not want to develop it. We want to maintain it as an agricultural farm and actually use it to raise animals on. My grandchildren will be raised on that farm 6 generations. That would make 6 generations on that farm. There is an operating agreement, and if you were able to read that, you would see that my father and mother-in-law had one desire, and that was for this 200 acres that we originally had to be maintained as a farm and to be held in situ. It was not supposed to be sold. It was not supposed to be developed. The thing that precipitated a sale to Will Herring and his associates is that some of Mike's siblings despised their inheritance of land, actually, and wanted cash. And so in order to maintain family genealogy and just be nice to each other. We decided to go ahead and sell the property. Now, what you guys need to understand is we handpicked Will Herring to sell this land to. And the reason we did that was because he had a heart's desire to maintain the natural beauty and wonder of this property. Let's face it, if you guys have ever driven Shelton Road, that is a drop-dead gorgeous piece of property. And we love it very, very much. My point in my comments tonight is the fact that this current generation, my husband and I and his sibling Jim, who continue to own the property as the LLC, and their children, my son Stan and his cousin David, want to maintain the property as an operating farm. We have great hopes. Stan will talk about those in just a minute, of some changes that we would like to make. But my point is this property will not be developed, and a stub road out to this property will not be needed or used. If you noticed, putting a stub road on this particular plot is going to take up an entire lot. And with the additional changes that have been placed on Will on this property, it's getting very, very hard to even afford to make the changes and be able to sell it to families on large lots. It was supposed to be an estate lot. So my request tonight is that you would grant this waiver. The stub road is unneeded. It's literally going to go to nowhere. It's going to take up space. It's going to destroy the property. And so my hope is that you will listen and allow for this waiver. Thank you.
Thank you. Who will be next?
Good evening. My name is Stan Gardner. I am part of the 5th generation of the Gardner family members living on the property that you heard my mother describe the history of just now. I have spent my entire 35 years on this earth on Gardner Farms. I grew up hunting on, fishing on, working on, and managing and protecting Gardner Farms. I developed my hard working ethic as well as my love for the outdoors and natural resources from those years. Unlike many of my contemporaries, I can mechanic, do carpentry work, weld, and drive and maneuver heavy equipment, all because of my farm life this property has afforded me. I intend to raise my son and my daughter and any future kids with the same hard work ethic and love for the land that I was raised with. And yes, my daughter will learn how to drive heavy equipment too. My bride and I were married 10 years ago tomorrow, under what we refer to as the wedding oaks on the farm, which is currently on the property that we sold to Mr. Herring. My cousin David and his wife were also married there. My brother-in-law and his wife actually got engaged there as well. I dream of the day that the sixth generation of gardeners, family, my kids, can get to, my kids or my cousin's kids, can get married on the farm if they desire to as well. My generation has a huge goal for this property. We recently made the decision of the family to actually close our stables and focus more on our beef operation. Our goal is to increase and develop our Angus beef cattle herd, to use adaptive multi-use paddock grazing to increase the stability of the land. So we're deciding to improve the land and not destroy it, and add to the diversity into the other endeavors to increase the production capabilities of our property. We plan to do all of this while maintaining the natural beauty of the property, and our hope is that one day Gardner family beef and hopefully other products from the property will be found on many tables throughout our community and this region. One of the things we are considering is how to host groups of school kids on the property. We dream of being a place where school children from all over the area can come and see actual animals in their natural habitat and learn how important farming is to the community and the world at large. We understand that the city is encroaching. There is no doubt about that, and we are not blind to that fact. However, our heart and the legacy mandate left to me by my generation, by my ancestors, is to maintain the land and as an operational agricultural farming property. Our intent and our dream at this time is to fulfill that legacy mandate, and there's no desire nor plan at this time to develop the property or to sell it for development. Our heart is for this to stand as a testament to the previous generation of gardeners who've come before me for many generations to come. To that end, I respectfully request that you waive the need for the stub-out connector road, beginning on the property owned by Will Herring and dead-ending at our property line. This road will serve no purpose now or in the future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
I'm Victor Payne. I'm a member of the Creekwood subdivision. Been there for about 30 years and have enjoyed it immensely. And I have to get notes out because I'm so old I have to have notes to figure out what I'm going to say here. Dr. Baker was the president of our association, and he was not able to be here tonight. His wife's in the hospital. And you probably know Mike Gardner, Mike Goodlett. He's the doctor for the sports teams, and this is a weekend off. He's off with his wife, taking a weekend off. So anyway, I'm just gonna give you a little bit about the history of having lived there for 30 years in the neighborhood. And this current plan, we really approve of it. The road, to give you a little background on that Bridlewood, is a mess. If you've driven down it, we've spent tens of thousands of dollars over the years as an association trying to patch, take asphalt out and put new asphalt down, and there's patches that need to come out now. And a lot of the road is what's called alligator back. It's got, if you know what an alligator looks like, that's what the back of a lot of the road is. And it's a hazard to drive on. We got potholes, and so we are really pleased that Will Herring has taken up the gauntlet to do something about it. And we're going to, as a neighborhood, put in $100,000 over 10 years if we had to help move it along. But it's a mess if you've been out there and seen it, and we'd really like to have that done. We hope you all will approve what's been talked about. And it was already mentioned about the little path that goes up next to, right behind the neighbors there, and it goes out to the greenway. And I think that there's some county acreage in there that'll still be in the county. But I'd like to, and I am a undergraduate civil engineering and master environmental engineer, so I enjoy the environment. But I don't know that it would be a good idea to take that path all the way out to that greenway. I wrote the national guidelines on constructed wetlands for the U.S. Department of Agriculture. I love wetlands. I love greenways. But if we invite people to go down there to the greenway, you have people parking on the road. And the other thing I don't like it for it to go all the way there is because you have the people right walking across the back, basically back across the backyards of the neighbors there. And if you were there, you wouldn't like it. And I don't think if we could just stop it at the county development, not take it to the greenway, I think we'd like that. And if people do want to go down to the greenway, it would mean people parking on Bridlewood, and that's something else we'd prefer not to have happen. So I think that's pretty much it. It's my presentation, and do I need to sign out on something on the way? That's it.
Just right
Okay.
there to the right, yes, sir,
Thank
or
you.
to your left. Is there anyone else?
Hello, good evening. Appreciate the opportunity to come up here today. My name is John Carney. I'm a Auburn graduate, small business owner here in town, and currently the only resident on this property. So 3 years ago almost, Will came to me with this idea for this property, and I came out and looked at it, and my wife and I and our kids just absolutely fell in love with it. Like Ms. Gardner said, it's just a special property. It's beautiful, beautiful trees, and so we were all in right from the beginning, and I was so excited about it that I actually joined him as a very small minority partner in the development. And so, not being a developer, I've learned a little bit more than I'd like to on subdivision regulations and procedures for all this. And but we're really excited to be out there, and the process has been, I have to say, a little frustrating for somebody like me doesn't do this for a living, but we're where we are now. We're really excited about it. I think we're really close to moving forward. I'm excited about knowing our new neighbors over in Creekwood, that this road that's been deeply needed repaired, and the culvert, and that this project is going to be able to fix that we're grateful. We're thankful to Justice and the rest of the staff for working through the easement issue. That was a big concern of mine, being a resident out there already with small children. So, one big thing for me is we started this project when it was still in the county. When this project started, we thought it was going to stay in the county, and so I pulled my permit in the county and finished building in the county. And but because of not being able to move forward yet, I've yet to be able to actually subdivide out my acreage to get permanent financing and that sort of thing. So, very excited to move this thing along, and just respectfully ask that the very few minor hurdles that we're still asking for some help with could be considered so that this could move forward. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else?
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Mike Thompson, attended Auburn back in the 70s a while ago. Businessman here in Auburn, proud of the few developments we've created here. But I think I'd like to give a brief history, not of the land or anything else, but of this project. It's been complicated, convoluted, I think. But about 35 years ago, the city approved Creekwood subdivision without any access to an existing city or county road. We all know that. It was only accessed by a private easement, which is your question about Bridlewood. Later, the city decided it would be beneficial to have a collector road connecting Shelton Mill over to North College. I only bring this up because every action subsequent to that's been taken by the city has made that proposal less and less likely, to the point where it's pretty unlikely now to ever be a collector over to College because of developments that are happening in between. In fact, the current major street plan for the city of Auburn, there is no connection shown between Bridlewood and North College. Forward 35 years, we started this project about 3 years ago as a rural, large lot development in keeping with the surrounding areas, the Gardner Farm, the conservation easement across the street, Creekwood Trail, all estate lots. After several tries, the first preliminary plat we actually submitted contained 12 lots and a road from Shelton Mill to our entrance, which was about halfway where you can see where the entrance is. That was our first proposal. We were then informed we had to bring the entirety of Bridlewood to city specs because under the city's subdivision regs, a developer may be required to bring all existing roads to city specs. This wasn't a road, it was a private driveway. It never was a road. I think somebody drawing a line on a map doesn't make it a road. However, we agreed to build the entire road from Shelton Mill to the existing Bridlewood because we were still desirous of our plan, and we were willing to help the city fix an access and safety problem that had existed for 35 years. With the great help of the mayor and several city council people, we entered into a development agreement with the city in which the city agreed to assist us in building that portion from that northerly road to the existing Bridlewood. Our first preliminary plat was approved with a number of flag lots because we had to do that to give frontage, and neither the city nor we were too happy with that configuration. Y'all probably remember that. So we increased our density a little bit just to pay for that. Then we were hit with this collector issue, as I mentioned earlier. Again, after several discussions with city personnel, we agreed to build the road as a collector, but because of the added cost, we had to increase the density to 16 lots at that time to make the project hopefully economically feasible. This plat was approved, but still contained a great number of flag lots, which none of us were too happy with. And then after costing the project not too long ago, it was determined not to be economically feasible. The cost of that collector road and that road were just too high. So we increased the density once more to the 21 lots in an attempt to make it work. In doing so, we proposed building that additional city street as opposed to the driveway as originally proposed, so that all the lots could have frontage on the city streets and we could eliminate all but one flag lot that existed on our preliminary plats. So we submitted the current preliminary plat, which is now before you for approval. However, the comment that was added about the stub out from the newly proposed northerly road all the way to the east property line with the Gardner Farm has really makes this project uneconomic again, and I'll tell you why. We lose an entire lot, and these are large lots, and we add several $1,000s worth of cost to our project. So we not only add costs, but we reduce our potential income. So we got one question tonight: Can we waive that stub out requirement? You've heard before that it's likely that for generations to come, there's not going to be any development on that farm. I believe them. Also, I'm really here to tell you that if we don't get that waived and we're required to pay to build that stub out to something that goes nowhere, I don't think this project can go. And I think what is going to be lost is the benefit of redoing Bridlewood for the access and safety issues that were caused 35 years ago when that subdivision was built and not given any kind of access. So that is the only question we have here tonight is can we please waive that requirement of the stub out? I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. I will now close the public hearing if there's, well, he's the applicant.
He's the
so,
applicant.
yeah. Is there anybody from the public that wants to speak on this other than the applicant? Seeing none, we'll now close the public hearing. Applicant can give his remarks.
Hey, y'all. Thank y'all for hearing us out. Truly grateful for your time. My name's Will Herring. My wife Ashley and I are raising a family of 6, so 4 kids, 3 daughters, 1 son. Ashley and I lived in the Auburn University Club. We moved, or actually she came home one day and decided that the city girl from Birmingham wanted to move to the country. So her idea of the country was the edge of town on a 17-acre lot that she found on Zillow in the middle of the night one night when she couldn't sleep. So being a wannabe country boy from Opelika, grew up on 50 acres, I thought that sounded great. And so we moved out to the edge of town. Mr. Vick, one of my neighbors, have grown to love him. Was just so blessed by watching him walk his sweet wife every day up and down Bridlewood. And she went to be with the Lord a few months ago. But just blown away by the kindness and generosity of my neighbors. And I've tried to keep them in the loop every step of the way. They are excited. They have had decades of frustration with a road, a dilapidated road that a lot of them think was the city's job to fix, or the county. But as y'all know, it was just a private drive, so it's not y'all's responsibility. But when Mr. Mike Gardner, when I built out there 3 years ago, I reached out to Mr. Mike and I said, Mr. Mike, if you guys, I hope y'all never sell a square foot, but if you do, would you give me the opportunity to buy a few acres, just a small buffer, because my house sits near the eastern line? He said, Will, I'd love to come sit down with you and kind of tell you what I got going on. And as y'all heard from Ms. Gardner, there's multiple siblings, and a few of the siblings wanted to sell the farm. And it had to be unanimous. And I told Mr. Mike, I said, Mr. Mike, you don't have to sell a square foot. If what you're telling me, it has to be unanimous. He said, Will, you don't have to go to Thanksgiving every Thanksgiving and Christmas with my family. I got to listen to my family. And I said, well, you're a nicer brother than I would be. But he and Mr. Jim are the two remaining trustees on the farm to the east. Their sons, Stan and David, and their daughter Kate, who lives here in Auburn, y'all have heard they have zero plans, not just this generation, but the next. This family farm has been in their family since the 1800s. And I just want y'all to please strongly consider the lack of likelihood of this thing being developed to the east, based on their testimonies here today. And so, as Mike Thompson just asked, our request is that you guys would strongly consider our waiver request for a stub out that we think is going to lead nowhere. As Mike mentioned, these lots, I mean, David Slocum, thank you, David. I mean, these lots are literally 3.0 acres. And as you get to the north, you have a couple larger lots, but if you pull up the topo map, the build site's like, we're already almost falling off into the swamp. And so we really think, and I know it's not y'all's problem, the feasibility, but we do think we're gonna lose a lot. And we're gonna obtain, I don't know if it's gonna be $80,000 or $150,000, but we're gonna have to pave a little bit more, but really we're gonna lose the sale of a lot. And so that hurts. But I think what hurts more than anything is the aesthetics of just a strip of pavement going across a beautiful farm with 100-year-old oak trees out there, and we're doing our best as not just the developers, but as the citizens that are going to live in this community. We're doing our best to maintain the beauty of the land. And so I just humbly thank y'all for your time, and humbly request that you would strongly consider this waiver. David Slocum, our engineer, is here, and he's available to answer any questions. I'm available to answer any questions. I know you guys have granted similar waivers in the not too far past, and I just want to ask that you guys would consider granting this request. Thank you.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for staff or the applicant?
Yes, I do, of course. Yeah, it was mentioned that this stub out would help because the length of the cul-de-sac is not compliant with our regulations. Okay, so we're here to approve a plat, a new plat, and also a waiver for getting rid of the stub out. If we approve that waiver, then what happens to this long stub out? How's that going to change this long cul-de-sac that's not compliant? How's that going to change this plat, or will it?
It won't change the plat that's presented to you.
Okay.
However, I guess the options would be, we would look at another roadway connection, some kind of U connection down, or they would request a waiver. Or I'd have to ask our attorneys, does that mean by default, because if there's no stub out, then the cul-de-sac exceeds the length, and do we just accept that? That would be something I'd have to ask our city attorney.
What drives the length of the cul-de-sac? I mean, why is it?
The
why
length
do you
of the
have
cul-de-sac.
Why do you have a limit of some
So,
kind?
and it's been this way since, for as long as I can remember, the length of the cul-de-sac, the maximum length is 700 feet, except where you have low-density developments, we allow up to 1,000 feet. And it is always my understanding that length is limited for public safety access and fire, trash, that kind of thing. So the stub out that we're requesting obviously is for connectivity, which also speaks to not having a very long cul-de-sac, just having multiple ways in and out.
Would y'all consider, and Ms. Dana, I thought maybe you were gonna ask this question. I had not thought of this question until you started. Allison, might we be able to reduce, I mean, as you know, the last proposal that's been approved was a private drive. And so might we be able to shrink the, and we got, that makes your job tough, and I'm sorry, David. But if we were to pull the public road back to 1,000 feet,
You couldn't get frontage on your northern lots.
we would have to have a few flag lots. So it takes a compromise.
So let's back up then. So let's just say we approved the waiver. Did they come back here again to get another waiver so they can exceed 1,000 feet?
So that's an administrative, it would be an administrative waiver because it's in our design manual.
Okay.
And so unless I denied it and they decide to appeal it, then you
Okay.
would not see it again.
So it'd be up to you. It'd be as a part of an administrative process.
Yes.
And how much longer than 1,000 feet is this?
I want to say it's around 1,500
It's
feet.
1,600 feet.
1,600.
Can I just point out, there's a bulb about halfway up.
Yeah.
And we've done that multiple times
But you
in the
can get
past to
people-
reset the length of the cul-de-sac. We did it at Falls Crest, we did it at Farmville Lakes. No questions asked. We do it, it resets the length, it provides a place for fire trucks to turn around, school buses, whatever.
Right.
And for some reason, on this one, it's an issue. I don't understand why. We've done that many times in the past.
Okay.
And that overcomes that issue of the maximum cul-de-sac length.
Okay. Any other questions, commissioners?
Yeah, so my question is with regards to stub out, and not on this issue particularly, is more in general. As I read the subdivision regulations, the language is this is a requirement. And it says, the language says shall have, each neighborhood shall have a stub out street. And are we saying then that is waivable? That's not really a requirement? Or this is okay, sometimes we'll.
Well, it is really a requirement, but that's why they're asking for a waiver. So
Okay, I get it.
That goes back to my question in the packet meeting, have we ever waived the stub out?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we have
Yes.
requested cross-access and stub-outs to many properties, and the planning commission and city
Yes.
council have waived and overruled those requests.
And then have we ever used these little bulbs, the little roundabout right there, put in the middle as a,
So-
or not, I should say cul-de-sac?
I think we have, David actually mentioned it to Dan today, we have not had a chance to talk to see what the conditions were of those situations. I don't know how many, David said there were many, I don't know if that's 2 or if that's 20. We
Right.
just have not had a chance to look into that today.
Okay.
But the question is, but if the waiver was approved to get rid of the stub out, then all this other stuff with these bulbs, cul-de-sacs would be taken care of with DRT.
And that would be, that's what I'm saying, I think that's something I'd have to ask the attorney. That would be, the stub out provides a solution for the long cul-de-sac length. If the stub out is not there, the cul-de-sac still exceeds the length. But what I don't know is if by virtue of you not requiring the stub out, does that automatically mean the extra length is acceptable. Sitting here, I would think, no, that you can't. You can't make a decision that affects something that's in a design manual that you don't have purview over, if that makes sense.
Right.
It does.
Right.
So I think the length would still stand, that it exceeds the limit, that we would have to
Right.
address somehow.
That's why I
Yeah,
asked the
yeah, and I
question.
guess kind of from the plat standpoint, waiving the stub out is one thing, and I think kind of what Allison's getting at is just kind of like, would that mandate the length? Normally, in my mind, I mean, that's just like another facet to be figured out. I think kind of what Will was alluding to, just kind of with David, is just kind of that would affect the lot configuration, and then kind of what would and would not have frontage. So then kind of the preliminary and the final plat would just look drastically different, I guess, if we weren't able to kind of find a solution just kind of regarding, like, get the bulbs and everything.
What I was asking, they're gonna have to come back, well, it would be with the final plat, I guess.
Yeah, and so in my mind, I don't think that mandates anything. I think it's just kind of more things, just kind of in the preliminary plat, between the preliminary plat and the final plat, that I think we'd be working through, just kind of like similar in DRT. I mean, we have, I don't want to say like other serious issues, kind of like oftentimes like in other, like with other preliminary plats and things like that, but we do hash out a lot of the details and a lot of the fine tuning when it comes to some of these things. And so kind of like Allison alluded to with the second bulb, or I guess the first bulb, just kind of going north there, we would then have time to study if the other situations were similar to this, if this could apply, et cetera, et cetera. And like I said, I mean, that's totally engineering's purview, but it's just one of the things that we would have to inevitably work out. And I think also with the lot configuration, if we couldn't. So it's just part of the process.
Okay.
I'd like to ask another question about the access. Is there any other cross-access through Creekwood? Any other, or is everybody come in and out of this Bridlewood at Shelton? All of Creekwood and all of this property? And
All
that's
of
their only
Creekwood.
entrance and exit?
Yeah, it's my, from what I remember from looking at the history of Creekwood a few years ago, there was supposed to be a connection to Watercrest Drive.
Right.
And I think that's an emergency access now via an easement.
Is it an easement?
So, but there's no
No
public
stub out?
connection, right. I think there's an easement connection.
It's just 33 lots.
So,
It's not
yeah.
hundreds of lots.
No, I understand. My thing about, when we start having this kind of discussion about it's cross-access, it's flow. I mean, the reason why Auburn has some really bad traffic is because everybody wants a cul-de-sac and they don't want there's no, you can't get across a lot of different ways. That's all good. I mean, everybody that lives there thinks it's great, but, the problem is you don't have that kind of access anymore. But, in this particular case, especially with, the overall density, I'm kind of in favor of the waiver,
I would agree.
Be glad to make a motion.
Do I hear a motion for the waiver?
Do them separate, the waiver and the,
Yes, yeah. So there'll be a motion on the preliminary plat and also a motion on the
Okay.
waiver.
So you want the preliminary plat first?
Or the waiver
Does it
first.
matter?
Yeah, doesn't matter
Okay.
for me.
Alright.
Yeah, just motion on
I'll,
both.
Go ahead.
I'll move to approve the waiver to remove the stub out from this property.
I second.
Motion's been made and properly seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. All against? Hearing none, the motion to approve the waiver passes.
Then I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve case PP 2024-044 Rockhouse Farms
Second.
with conditions.
Motion has been made and properly seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against? Motion passes. All right. What's next?
Hi everyone, good evening. Here the applicant seeks waiver from Article 509.03, Table 5.6 of the zoning ordinance to use fiber cement board as a cladding material on the exterior facade. The property is located at 712 Westland Avenue in Auburn, Alabama. And the subject property is a series of lots with a total area of 4.27 acres. And the current zoning is Urban Neighborhood West. The project consists of a 725-bed apartment complex with a 798 on-site parking deck. And the materials proposed for the exterior facade are orange brick, cream brick, and fiber cement board. Orange bricks and cream bricks are listed within the approved materials by the Development and Design Standard Guidelines within the UN West. However, the material fiber cement board is not within the list of approved materials. The preliminary research on the fiber cement board shows the general constituents of these boards are Portland cement, sand, water, and cellulose fibers. However, it varies slightly with the manufacturer. The material is durable, non-combustible, low maintenance, resistant to water and rot. And also the material can mimic various natural textures. The main concern is the process of installation is difficult as they are a lot heavier, and if installed incorrectly, it is susceptible to mold and mildew. So the staff recommends approval of the material as it does not violate the design intent of the zoning ordinance, but with a condition that a complete material and color palette along with where they will be used in the building shall be submitted by the applicant and then must be approved by the planning staff. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you.
I have one question. Where else in the city do we use this fiber cement board?
Yeah, so I can answer that. Thanks, Randall. So there have been several occasions on other downtown projects where the DDRC has approved fiber cement board as a sufficient alternative. In other projects that have greater scrutiny than this one on UNW. This is actually something that we need to, next time that we convene the DDRC, that I'll probably get a formal opinion on, just kind of about changing the policy with this, because they've approved fiber cement board as an alternative several times, to the point now that I don't think we want to give somebody carte blanche to make it the entire building.
Right.
But I do think it has been looked upon favorably as a substitute material in these situations.
Okay. Is the applicant here?
Brett Baskman with the Foresight Group. Happy to answer any questions, but yeah, I mean, it's a material that's used every day in Auburn on construction, whether it's residential, industrial projects and commercial projects. So it's heavily used. In our opinion, it's a lot less maintenance and withstands better than using EFIS or some other type of material. And so you can use it in different ways, whether you use it board and batten or lap siding. There's different ways and textures to vary it up and vary the look of the building with it. So we're more than happy to have a pallet board approved by staff as well. That was one of the things that we had talked about, so it's not a big deal. But happy to answer any questions if you got any.
All right. Okay. Just a quick question. On our agenda, it indicates that this waiver requires a public hearing, but waivers don't require a public hearing, correct?
No, they do not.
Okay, thank you. All right. Do I hear a motion on the waiver?
Sure. A or motion to approve waiver request WZ 2024-016 with conditions.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against. Motion carries.
So this item is a request to rename the existing street of Lee Road 677 to Woodward Oaks Trail. So we became aware of this street name needing a potential change because a property owner that lives on the road currently reached out regarding potential enrollment in the Auburn City school system. And so you can imagine once we heard Lee Road 677, we had that assumption that it was in the county, but looking into it just a bit further, we realized that this property had been annexed into the city and that Lee Road 677 was indeed maintained by the city of Auburn, or owned by the city of Auburn. So discovering that, we knew that it needed to be changed and given a new name. According to the City of Auburn Addressing and Street Naming Manual, to establish continuity, a street running in one direction should ideally have one name, and it should have the same name throughout the entire length. So the rights of, as you can see right here, the rights of way of Lee Road 677 and Woodward Oaks Trail align with one another. So ideally, extending the Woodward Oaks Trail street name to the terminus of Lee Road 677 would be ideal and consistent with our street naming and addressing policies. I did want to add that we did send out letters to inform all property owners that currently live along Lee Road 677, 2 of those being within the city limits and 1 being outside the city limits. And the one property you can see in the white right here at the very end, they would retain Lee Road 677 as their street name on their current address unless they decided to annex in the future. So with that, staff recommends approval. Can answer any questions.
Sure. So the one question I have is, so is driving up Miracle Road towards 677, it becomes like unpaved. So is 677 unpaved as well?
It is unpaved,
Okay.
yes.
This does appear to require a public hearing. I will now open the public hearing. Seeing none of the public, I will now close the public hearing. Do I hear a motion on the street name?
Move to approve MS 2024-003.
Second.
A motion has been made and properly seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All against? Motion carries.
All right, so this is the statutory review for the Auburn High School. There's obviously no recommendation for or against the high school. This is really just a statutory review for y'all to see it. You can go to the next one. So it's the location corner of Donahue, just kind of Shug up there. You want to go to the next one. So this is the site plan. I think kind of only major thing, I guess not necessarily to really kind of draw your attention to or anything, but on the major street plan, there is a road that connects North Donahue and North College, and that is the road to the south there, and then there's the possible connection to Shug Jordan. So those are only big things kind of from my perspective, and staff's still working through kind of with the site plan and a lot of other finer details, just kind of about the Auburn High School.
We don't need to make a motion or anything.
There's nothing to approve. You
Great.
just, there we go.
Looks great.
Yeah. So I guess if you had any questions about it or anything, the engineer is here to answer any questions about it. But this is statutory review.
My question is this. I do have a question. And looking at the roads going in and out of the school, there's, I guess, one going to the parking lot, but there's one that goes around to the circle, and the one that's going out eventually to North College, because it looks like it ends at this little terminus here. That is going to be used by high school traffic, correct? Both of these entrances off of Donahue will be used by
Yes.
high school traffic.
The school has a plan for circulating parents, students, and buses
Yeah.
to use those 3 entrances, but as Justice mentioned, the road that's on the south end
Right.
of the project will be a city street that they construct.
Oh,
That's on
okay.
the master street plan. How about that?
Good. And what about the one out to 147, yeah, Shug.
So right now, that is proposed as just a private drive. They will have to get that permitted through the DOT for access to Shug Jordan. But it is proposed to be constructed with this project.
And do you think, what's the possibilities that they will get that approved by ALDOT?
I mean, I think it's proposed as a right in, right out right now, so I think that's very possible.
Oh, good.
Yes,
Could
ma'am.
there be traffic lights here at any of these?
There is a traffic signal proposed at Yarborough Farms Boulevard, which is the main,
Which is the
road.
main one, is across, yeah.
That will be installed with the project, yes, ma'am.
Any other questions, commissioners? Seeing none, we'll proceed to the next item on the agenda.
That's
Oh, is
that's
that
the
it?
end. Yeah, that's
Okay.
it.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, I don't
Have
have
to
any
reinvent the
chairman's
wheel, I guess.
communications. Our chairman is gone. Do you have any communications from staff?
Yeah, so I guess I'll just confirm the time for Monday, 5 p.m. on Monday. Like I said, that's it. I think probably about hour, 90 minutes maybe. We'll kind of have an outline of kind of all the big points, kind of for talking points for y'all. This will be for the PUD work session for everyone. But yeah, so we'll have a lot of talking points. We won't have like a hard document, but we'll have like a lot of the bigger things that we've kind of agreed upon. And like I said, so this has been through several iterations of legal review. This has been viewed by leadership on several occasions. And like I said, we've kind of distilled this down to something that we think can be presented to y'all. So like I said, not done. Like I said, obviously, I mean, we're presenting to y'all for feedback, kind of the things that y'all want to see in it, and kind of what would make y'all comfortable and make y'all confident in it. So that is the intention on Monday. So it's not just here's this and we're gonna move it along. Feel free to give us any and all feedback. So
Awesome.
Where are we meeting?
JCB.
Okay.
All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.